G'day, fans, and welcome back to another exciting episode of DNA Reviews, where we're talking about Andor Episode 4. And the best thing about this particular episode is my A is back. Mr. Aaron, how you going, old son?
Good, and I'm a big A at that. But I'm doing really well. Really looking forward to jumping into this episode and talking about this one because I enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly right. So for those who don't remember, last week it was a bit of an arduous thing where I was by myself yapping on for a whole hour. But now I got the A with me, which is important because you are right. There is that much to cover off. I end up with like a million pictures. There's all these details absolutely everywhere. So for those who don't know, we're talking about good old episode 4, which is called Eldani, which is Eldani, right? Which is a bit of an unusual title, which we'll cover off very, very soon. And of course, there will be spoilers. In this case, unlike the episode 1 and 2, where there were no spoilers, now there are spoilers. So it's particularly interesting. So yes, it's still a show that's dividing people. A lot of people didn't even get to episode 4. They sort of dialed out after 1, 2, and 3. But hopefully people who are watching this did stick it out to number 4. It's an unusual episode because there's like no Jedi, no Sith, no lightsabers, no spaceship scenes practically, no aliens, and no action. How good's that?
Well, I think there is action, but not in the way that Star Wars fans expect action. I actually think the first couple of episodes maybe were getting people to adapt to this show, and now it's getting into sort of where they want to go and how they want to present things. And I'm not hating it. I'm actually liking it quite a bit.
Very, very cool. Good stuff. All right, I got a lot of pictures. I went through the episode today. I was picking out bits everywhere, and it was like, oh my God, I had to research all this stuff. My mind was going completely absolute Star Wars troppo in a good way. So first things first, and as always with the show, they sort of jump around from scene to scene. Some of it I'm going to follow, some of it I'm going to sort of group together. We're obviously, Cassian's left Ferrix, right, with Luthen. And I like the idea that Luthen's ship has a fancy little AI with the 3 camera things there. So that's something you don't sort of really see. We know the Millennium Falcon has a computer in it, which has obviously come from Solo, whatever that droid was called. But the fact that it's like almost like Kit from Knight Rider, where the ship talks back. I thought that's different. We've never seen that before on a Star Wars show.
It kind of looked like a webcam as well. Maybe Luthen is doing his own web show reviews while he's not working for the Rebellion as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to be a bit cynical, you could say, well, how come we haven't seen this in future shows, even in The Force Awakens and stuff, which is like 30 years later, actually more than that in this, like 40 years later. They don't have any of this sort of stuff in their ship. So you probably could argue, it's like, hang on, he's got a technology, Luthen's got a technology that nobody else seems to have. So, but, be that as it may, it was kind of cool, and they didn't overuse it either. So it was just like, it was there, the ship could talk back to him. It was very, very groovy. And of course, he has the ability to go into light speed really, really fast, which was particularly cool stuff. It's action, Jim, but not as we know it. Yeah, exactly. That's actually very, very good, actually. I just realized that. So there's a long bit of a discussion going on here. As someone pointed out, considering Luthen likes remaining hidden, right? He's like in the shadows doing his thing. Even Vera knows who he is, but the rest of her gang on Eldani don't. Someone pointed out it was interesting that Luthen actually personally recruited Cassian himself. And I thought that, because that's a big risk. Because if Cassian had said, no, I'm going to turn turncoat and let you tell the Imperials about you, he's juicy fruited, right? He's got nowhere to hide. So, I mean, it's a small thing. I mean, obviously for the narrative, it works because you don't want a third intermediary recruiting Cassian. But it was an interesting observation from a real world perspective. So, I reckon.
Well, I thought the same thing as well. And I did think it was one of those things where there is no rebellion yet. And there's just small, I guess, cells of people that are trying to do something. And there isn't big chains of people where this goes through. So I do think it is a case of handpick the crew one at a time, and the less people who know, the better. So I thought that was quite realistic, actually.
Yeah, very, very groovy. There's 2 things. Daniel said about the voice was from the same dude who did Proxy from The Force Unleashed. That's very, very cool. The DJ, I think we sort of picked up on this a little while ago. A few people are realizing that, this series is very, very adult and it's aimed at an adult audience. And I agree with you. Like the Disney Star Wars content is the formula made for childhood memories, which is completely true. And the reason, and of course, this is obviously a very adult show. And what highlights that, and we covered this off in a previous episode, is that the previous series, a whole lot of them, all had children in them. So you had Grogu was in one, and you had Leia in another, and you had Omega in another, and even the Tusken Raider kid in another. Whereas in this show, they were still all adults. And for that reason, as we've said before, it's not designed for the general public. It is not a children's show. And that's pretty, I mean, from episode 1, we Cassian shoots a dude in the head. That's pretty evident. So, yes, for those who do like something a bit more mature, it's going to be right up our alley. But I have heard people complain, going, no, it's getting a bit too adult. And fair enough, if that's the case, just don't watch it. Just wait for season 3 of Mandalorian. Now, some of these pictures I'm going to have to go through pretty quick, otherwise we'll be here for 2 hours because there was so much cool stuff to deal with, but absolutely loved it. Now, I don't know if you picked up on this, Mednog. How good's that? It's the drink to cure all ails. I thought, what is it, a liquid version of Bacta? What do you reckon? Take a swig of that, son.
I did see that too and kind of laugh because it's kind of like eggnog, and then it's the medical term. But no, it's something, again, we haven't seen in Star Wars before, but it's, again, the all-purpose fix you up, I guess.
So if you remember a Benny Hill thing where you had cough medicine, because cough medicine used to taste really, really good. He puts a teaspoon on, right? Like, so you're supposed to have a teaspoonful, but he puts it on a teaspoon, drinks the entire bottle, and then puts a teaspoon back in the bottle, right? So maybe this will be like the med nog is Cassian's
and you can get it in a flaming mo.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, this whole thing, it's very interesting, right? We're on the ship. It's a long scene, the talk between Luthien and Cassian, and there's a lot of these sort of shots where it's just a lot of dialogue, right? If you love your dialogue, it was great. There was a lot of talking, a lot of stuff going on. And for whatever reason, and we haven't worked this out yet, Luthien clearly hates the Empire, right? He's got a real beef against them for some reason because he wants to get back at them. So you get the feeling he's got a bit of a backstory there that we haven't touched on, and I don't know if we will touch on it, but I really liked it. I thought it was actually kind of cool because you do wonder what his deal happens to be. And of course, when Cassian made references to the Alliance, SEP, which I'm assuming to mean the Separatists from all those years ago, Guerrilla could be anything, and the Partisan Front. And of course, this means that Cassian has heard of the Alliance, which is interesting because at this point, the Alliance is still very infinitesimal. And the Partisan Front is Saw Gerrera's group. And of course, Saw Gerrera in live action appeared in Rogue One, but made his first introduction, I think it was in the Clone Wars, and then never appeared in Rebels. So there's a lot of references in this show, believe it or not, to animated series things like Rebels in particular. So that was, but he just spits it out, Alliance, SEP, this, that, it's all the same to him. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I'm assuming, as I said, SEP is Separatist. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought like what you were saying earlier about being a longer scene. Usually longer scenes with lots of exposition can get boring, but I think this has been quite good. And as DJ was saying, more of an adult show, given a bit more time to breathe. And yeah, they're drawing it into all different formats of Star Wars from the other movies like Rogue One and the animated stuff. So for people who like to go, oh, this is from this is from this, there are little Easter eggs like that too.
Yeah, and some of them, they've really thought out their continuity. There's an absolute ripper coming right up. Just quickly, DJ made a point about he shoots a guy in the head. He's just a random dude. But the fact that he actually even shot a guy it was in cold blood. We did cover this off last week or the week before. But the fact that it happened sort of told you from the first 10 minutes, yeah, this isn't a show for the kids. And now, this one I looked at, I checked the references, and it's absolutely spot on. Cassian makes a point of saying that he was on Mimban at age 16, right? If you do the maths, that's exactly right, because in Solo, which is set in 10 BBY, 10 years before the Battle of Yavin, it works because Cassian's age at this point is 21. So if you minus, was it 5 years, that is exactly 10 BBY. So it's highly possible, however unlikely, that Han and Cassian actually crossed paths at some point while they're on Mimban, which of course appeared in Solo. So I don't know if you picked up on that, but I looked that up today, did the numbers, and I go, yep, fits perfectly. So how about that?
I did pick up, they mentioned Mimban. I didn't do the numbers. And though you say highly unlikely, I think in Star Wars, highly likely, because they always manage to, two people could have been in Jabba's palace and they just happened to bump into each other at the same time and things like that. So
I reckon, and they said that, like Luthien said that Cassian was a cook. I thought that was kind of interesting. So he's got culinary delights. So yeah, if Han's on the battlefield and they're off to the mess tent, Cassian could have been the guy, serving up all the slop. And it just, wouldn't that be fascinating? You make a fan film out of that. Cassian serving up the food. Han's going past. He was trying to get off Mimban to go back and rescue Kira. That is just a great moment. And of course, most people wouldn't have picked up on that. And for those who love their trivia, of course, Mimban came from Splinter of the Mind's Eye. That's when it was first referenced and canonized in Solo. And here it is again. I thought it was brilliant, but I did the numbers and I go, holy shit, it matches perfectly. So, so well done to the people who wrote this. So very, very cool. Now, of things returning, of course, Bastards made a return. So that's the third time we've heard the word Bastards. And of course, Luthien also says, I didn't risk my ass. And I thought, have we heard ass before? Ass. He's American. Ass. I don't know if it's his first appearance, but yes, the adult language is sort of making an appearance. Didn't risk my ass. So,
Yeah.
I reckon.
Do you think they should be making up Star Wars terms to take the edge off it, or do you prefer them just using bastards and ass and shit and stuff like that?
Well, it's a good argument, and I don't know. For some people, they will say yes, you need to tone it down and not use real life swear words. And but as we highlighted, that depending on what you say, you can make the scene humorous, and then all of a sudden the edges take it off, or you do it in reverse, right? So when was it? You hear the scruffy looking nerf herder, right? Imagine if Leia had said, "You're a prick," right? You're a bastard. The connotation is completely. This is the Han in the Hoth scene. So the connotation would have been completely different, and of course it would have all the parents would have covering their kids' ears. But using real swear words, at least it's real life. But whether it works for the Star Wars universe, I don't know. And there's going to be arguments for and against. And maybe the argument against is probably a little bit stronger. I don't know.
So if Leia hadn't said "your vile stench" and just turned "you bastard prick," it's like a totally different thing, isn't it?
It is. It has completely different connotation all of a sudden. But yeah, Star Wars was renowned for inventing its own swear words. And whether it works or not, I don't know. But this is the kind of show I think you can use real ones and get away with it. But as we said, it may not appeal to anybody. So just hearing it alone is like, okay, fair enough then.
Well, I actually agree. I think because this is probably pitched at a more adult audience, and having swears doesn't make something more adult, but it does actually, I guess, give like you said, a bit of shock value because you haven't heard it in the Star Wars universe before.
Yeah. Now there's a long comment from DJ. I'm not going to put it up yet because there's a sequence later on which will fit in just in beautifully. So DJ, just sit tight there, old son, and enjoy it. So yes, you are right. Yeah, as is Cassian's video, I have a bad feeling about this. Exactly right. So there's gags all over the place. This is interesting, right? Cassian's going to get 200,000. I'm assuming it's Imperial credits, right? And I thought of the Han line from A New Hope. It's like, that's more wealth than he can imagine. It's like 200,000. Holy guacamole. And it does show that Imperial troops, the Imperial, war machine, whatever, is actually on a payroll. They're not doing it for the love of it. They're actually, getting paid. And I thought that's the first time we've heard that reference because, typically in a dictatorship, the military, they're brought in, they just get stuck in their jobs and away they go. And we've always interpreted the Galactic Empire to be like that. But no, they're all getting paid for it. I go, fancy that. So you do wonder what's the going rate for a day, the hourly rate for a stormtrooper these days.
Well, I tell you what, if he did pull off this heist and he gets that much money, that's enough to set him up for life, really, isn't it?
I thought it was a bit much. 200,000. Holy guacamole! And a few years from now, it's like they're barely able to get 17,000 just to get a ship to Alderaan. So he's getting 200 grand. It's like, mate, how good's that?
They are stealing the entire Imperial payroll for the sector, aren't they? So it would be for a lot of people.
Yeah, no. You can imagine Han, in A New Hope, and he says he's got his money there loaded up with Chewbacca and all the rest of it, and he gets his dollars and go, hang on, Cassian Andor 5 years ago, like $200,000, and I've only got 50.
Well, here's something. When you saw, I presume Han was loading the credits onto the Millennium Falcon, that was on quite a big tray, and that was 17,000. Imagine if his cut is 200,000, how are they going to even load all of that and get it and take it and physically move it?
No, I think you'll find Han got more than 17. He was meant to be paid 17 to get to Alderaan. Once he got the Leia back to Yavin 4, they probably said, here's a few extra bucks because that was part of the whole thing of rescuing her in the first place. So, but either way, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of containers there. And if it's gold pressed latinum from Star Trek, then clearly they can load a fair bit on there. Just quickly, I like this. We're talking about using real words, real swear words in the show. Guy said, yeah, Smeghead wouldn't exactly work in the Star Wars. That would take the edge off things a little bit, don't you reckon?
I don't know. You moof milking Smeghead, that might work.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Yeah, a bit of bantha poodoo going your way. Stormtroopers get a bonus if they shoot straight. Yeah, that's an incentive for them. Now, the past, all these series we've been watching, right, left, right, and centre. We're always on freaking Tatooine. We're bloody here. We're bloody there. We're everywhere except we want to be. And of course, this time we finally get to go back to Coruscant. We're going home. And for people like myself who absolutely adore this planet, it was great to see what it was all about. And of course, you get the top-down view. And I thought, oh, God, it's just like New York City, remembering that most of the people live underground, right? It's only the wealthy and the elite get to live on the top. But you can almost imagine like the Dick Tracy cartoon series, with the streets going this way and that way and all this sort of thing with the police cars. I loved it. I thought it was great. What are your thoughts?
I thought it was great, and I really thought it was good that it was different and moved on enough in a logical way for an episode, well, the prequel trilogy, where it was alive and neon and full of cars and stuff, and now the Empire have taken over, and they're all dour and British actors sort of thing, and Coruscant was darker and didn't have as much happening on the surface anymore.
Yeah, but to be fair, we didn't actually see a nighttime scene, so it was all during the daytime. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, it does look a bit more sterile. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It also depends on what district you're in as well. I mean,
True.
New York looks vastly different to, say, Fitzroy. So, as a joke. But, yes, exactly right. Yeah, and DJ saying, yeah, you're not a fan of the swear words. Yep, that's fair enough. As we said, it'll be 50-50 for those who like it and those who don't. Either way, we got them, and there you go. I don't know what they do in the subtitles, whether they change it or not, but we just have to live with it. So we're on Coruscant. The first thing we get to see is the Imperial Security Bureau. How good is that? And of course, I like the fact that Dedra, and that's the actress or the character at the start, her coat is actually part of the uniform. I really like that. And for those who are wondering, where do these Imperial Security puppies come from? And of course, they're all originally from A New Hope. Just these random extras walking through a scene, right? And since then, they've become part of this whole ISB thing. So just random actors in the background, no one gave a rat's ass about. And now look at them. They've come a long way in 45 years. What do you reckon?
Yeah, imagine trying to keep those uniforms clean, though.
Yes.
It is one of those things where I do like the look of it, and I do like how when the Empire are in charge, you've got the sharp-lined uniforms and everything is more authoritarian. So I'm liking the look of Coruscant. I'm liking the look of the new characters.
So we saw this in the trailer, and for dare I say, people like myself was like, "Oh, mate," is like started drooling. It was a very embarrassing thing. I saw this on the TV in a restaurant, and I'm like drooling. No, I'm joking. Of course, it's the inside the conference room. How grouse is that? Now, of course, there's a lot to digest from a lot of this. As noted by a lot of people, it's all human. There are no aliens, and of course, that just supports the pro-human stance that the Galactic Empire has. In amongst the discussions, there's a lot of discussions going on. They make mentions of Ryloth. Excuse me. And that, of course, is home to the Syndulla family. And that's where Hera comes from. Once again, that's a Rebels reference that a lot of people will probably pick up on, and which I thought was particularly cool. And as someone said, here's a quote, and I thought this is absolutely spectacular, right? You look at all this scene, it's all white, it's all sterile, it's all really cool. This person said, and I had to agree with them, it's not that I like the Empire, I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about the fact that their immaculate standards appease my OCD.
Yes.
I agree, DJ. It was so awesome. Yep. Sorry, man. Yeah. Cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say, it does appeal to some people, just the cleanliness of it, because a lot of Star Wars fans who have a collection, it gets a bit out of control and stuff like that. DJ also mentioned they're originally from the role-playing game, which I didn't know.
Yeah, they may have been, but the costumes in the New Hope, they weren't anybody. They were just dudes that just wearing it. Nobody said, oh, this is Imperial Security. None of that existed back then. They just had different colored uniforms, and they invented all this stuff later on. And you are right, for the role-playing game, that probably would have been in the 80s, as a guess. And it's just grown from there. So, yeah, back then it was just like, well, because you had different guys and different, the black guys, and you had the green dudes and all these other guys, and you go, it just looks good. It was just a mixture of things. But, yeah, at that point, they weren't anybody, which is particularly cool. With that in mind, clearly, the ISB is not a fun place. Mate, a lot of tension in that room. And I thought, what would the end-of-year Christmas party be like? It was like far out. And as you said, who gets to clean all the uniforms? It's like mega tension. Don't screw up, kids. Oh, I tell you what. What do you reckon?
Well, I tell you, there's no one on there not paying attention and playing Galaga on a screen where no one can watch, is there?
No one eating blue noodles, that's for sure. Oh, how was that? Hey, even when you're doing something right, you're doing something wrong. It's like far out, kicking ahead central there, kids.
Yeah, I did think it was good how they did that juxtaposition of this being the Imperial version of security, and in the previous week we've seen the sort of the system version of security with that security force, and how it's a whole different level of what's expected.
So what they're saying is like the Imperial Security Bureau is much like what the Gestapo was, what the KGB was. They see enemies everywhere, right? Everything is suspicious. And if it's not suspicious, then it should be suspicious. And that's their mindset. And it's almost like you're rotting your brain from within. You just don't trust anyone. And, of course, that's just not a healthy way to be. But that's how they look at it amongst themselves.
I'll add something though. We'll look at it later. That is how they look at it. Unless you're the new female that's just made it into the room and you try and bring something up, then they shoot you down in flames and don't listen to what you're trying to tell them.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there's only one woman in the room. Yes, exactly right. And well, that's Dedra, and we're going to get back to her very, very soon. Anyway, the dude running the show is a funny, unusual name, Partagaz, right? And I love the fact that he said, "Oh, the ISB is a healthcare provider. We look after all the like when what do you call it? When people are unhappy and causing dissent in the ranks, that's causing a disease and it's causing there's festering wounds." And it's their job to fix it all up. I love that dialogue. I thought it was so cool. And of course, if you taught yourself to believe that, if you really took that on board and said, "Oh, no, I'm not a security bureau. I'm actually a healthcare provider managing the health of all the citizens." Oh, you could just do really, really crazy stuff and think you're doing it for the right reason. I thought that was a fantastic bit of dialogue. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Commander Mengele, security provider there. But I did think it was fantastic. And I think the casting is excellent as well, where you can look at that guy and by the casting and uniform, you know exactly who you're getting. I think they've, across the board on the last couple of episodes, had an amazing casting in this show.
Yeah, and I love the fact when he says, "Oh, yeah, what do we do here at the ISB?" And then, of course, this is where Dedra comes in. It's because we do this, we do this, we do this. And he goes, "That's straight out of the manual and it's wrong." And I'm like, "Oh, cop that." Smackdown. And it's like, you just can't please this guy, can you? It's like, far out. Everybody does something wrong. So I thought, as a scene, it worked really well because there was so much tension in the room. You just knew that I just want to hide, but I can't hide. I've got nowhere to go. Hopefully, I don't do anything wrong. And we had the other guy, he just gets chewed out all the time. Can you imagine when they're going to the canteen to have lunch and they go, another meeting in the with Partagaz, was he Partagaz again? It's like, "Mate, yeah, did you get chewed out?" "Yeah, I got chewed out." "What about you?" "I got chewed out." "Oh, I didn't." "Oh, why not?" "Oh, I took a sick day. I didn't come in today."
Yeah, you do wonder what the burnout rate would be here, because you tell you what, not a lot of people would want to be working in that kind of environment.
True, but the thing is that it'd be a lot of people wanting to replace them, right?
Yeah.
Right below all these people, they say, "Mate, as soon as you're gone, I'm coming right up behind you." And Partagaz says later on that they are intentionally recruiting people like Dedra, young people, to come in and do their thing. Throughout the entire episode, all 1970s visuals for the electronics, absolutely fantastic. They've really thought this through. There's absolutely like practically no CG anywhere when it came to computer screens, and I thought that was magnificent. So love it. Yeah, right, Christy, the unions would have a field day. Well, yes, you probably say that the ISB are the unions, but I love this. And of course, this followed the whole subplot of our missing box from episode 3 that we would also, the MacGuffin that we kind of forgot about. But of course, Dedra is tracking down where it came from, which is very, very cool. And speaking of cool, name dropping, dude, Scarif is mentioned. Increased construction shipments, which is very cool. A link to the Rogue One. Of course, the Death Star will be nearly finished by this point. And good old Scarif is in the Abrion sector. I thought that was particularly groovy. That'll be one for the trivia quiz enthusiasts. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool too. And yeah, I don't know if they'll go there or it's just a sort of nod to the movie
line.
Yeah. The other thing that I thought was pretty cool, and this is one of those things that's generally good with villains, is true evil doesn't realize that they're evil. They actually think they're good and they're doing the right thing, and that's what true evil is. And you can see Deirdre's introduced as this gung-ho, trying to do the right thing, and you're like, you're so good at what you do, but you don't realize what you're doing is bad. And I really like that in the characters and what they're doing here.
The problem is it all comes down to the perspective of the person. And I agree, yeah. They're doing evil things. And you are right. They themselves don't think it's evil. But there will be some people who go, what you do is great because you make my life better. So it all comes down to the perspective of individuals, not the people who are controlling everything, those who are gaining from it and those who are being sort of victimized by it. And it's always a mixture. Now, we as the audience get to see a broader range of what's happening. But depending on where you are in universe, you could be saying, oh, this lifestyle we've got is fantastic. We see this later on with Mon Mothma's husband, Perrin, right? Yeah. Mate, the world is grouse. Love it. It's awesome. Fantastic, right? He's completely oblivious as to what's going on out in the rest of the galaxy. So in universe, things always look different depending on who you are and where you are. So, and up until shit went down in episode 3, good old Kana, that thought the life was fantastic. So, but we'll get to him very, very soon. All right. Now, for whatever reason, Mickey whoop off to Aldani, and I don't know why they named the episode after this planet because nothing really happens here. But It's all very cool. And no, it is not the Scottish Highlands kiddies, even though it looks exactly like them. But yes, here we are in Aldani, which is kind of cool. And of course, they've landed here, and now Clem, that's Cassian's code name. And for those who didn't pick up on the reference, that was his adoptive father's name. So I thought that kind of worked rather well. And this is interesting. So Luthen gives, I'm going to call him Clem then, Cassian, this thing with the kyber crystal, which is blue. Now, I don't know if it's blue because it came out of a lightsaber, because typically kyber crystals don't have any color at all, right? As you can see from the one on the right. But what's interesting is that Cassian now has the Qati, I think it was, necklace with a kyber crystal. And of course, Jyn from Rogue One was given a kyber crystal necklace from her mother. And of course, in Rogue One, let's assume Cassian doesn't lose it and doesn't give it back to Luthen, because I'm assuming Luthen's going to cark it in this show, that when they do the hug together at the end, the crystals are almost next to each other. So I thought that was a nice little gag that a lot of people probably didn't even notice. Did you?
No, I totally missed that one.
Oh, very, very cool. So the fact that his is blue, Luthen's, I do wonder if it did come out of a lightsaber, because if you, it's unbelievably nerdy. When you get the crystals out of the ice on Ilum, which is now Starkiller Base, you stick it in the saber, and then the blade color comes out as whatever. And I think if you take the crystal out after that, then it's got color in it, I think. Whereas, as we saw, Jin's was completely clear. So, no, it's nerdy, but it's a cool moment.
So he's taken it out of a lightsaber or some Jedi instrument or something. Or maybe he is ex-Jedi.
No, he wouldn't be ex-Jedi. But I don't know. He did say it was an ancient thing, so he maybe he's had it for 1,000 years. I don't know. It was just a little thing. So, So if you like a bit of interesting sort of connection between Cassian and Jyn, besides the fact they're both criminals, they've both got kyber crystal necklaces, which is kind of cool. There you go. One for the nerds out there. Oh, love it. Love this. Cassian wants to steal the ship, and the AI said, "Hey, what are you doing, son?" What do you reckon?
So that was good. That's the ultimate of anti-burglary parking locks, isn't it?
Just getting back to the ICB thing, Christy said about the greater good for whom, the lesser good for who else. As I said, it depends in universe which character, who you are and where you are. Remembering...
Sorry, there would be all these people who are really happy that they cleared all the ETs out of the Senate.
Exactly right. Don't forget, like for example, as an example, just very, very quickly, in the Clone Wars, we all love the Jedi. The Jedi are fantastic and wonderful, but there were people who didn't like them because they were considered elitist and snobbish and all the rest of it. And and they just had the poor people working for them, very, very simply, because we know who they are, but the in-universe people didn't. So, yes, all about perspective. We get introduced to Vel Sartha. There's a lot of names coming into this show today. It's I don't know if you're going to remember them all. I certainly can't. But she was pretty groovy. And, of course, she knows who Luthen is, but she's making a point of not telling anybody else who he is. So as far as she's concerned, she's organised everything herself, including bringing Cassian into the fold. And I did like the fact that Luthen actually said that Cassian is disposable. That's why he's being rented. I thought that was a very interesting line. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it is one of those things. Is he playing everyone and saying that because he just knows that will help them to let him into the group, or is he saying that because he actually genuinely believes it? Because if he is a good person who's trying to set up a rebellion, you wouldn't think he would have that sort of underlying attitude to everyone else. I
think it was interesting. I don't believe he believed it. That's bad English. Because he obviously went to the trouble of recruiting Cassian himself. And I think he said it just for Vera's benefit. So, if Cassian sort of goes off tangent, we can lose him. But I don't think he really wants to do that. He thinks Cassian has a lot going for him. And as, of course, we know, Cassian lives on until Rogue One. So, but it was an interesting line. He was just saying that's why we rented him, because he's just disposable. I thought, okay, very, very cool. Now, we get back onto Coruscant, and the moment we've been waiting for, right, after episode 3, what is going to happen here? And the three guys, oh, how the mighty have fallen. Do they get chewed out or what? Absolutely love it. And this line, when Mosk, I think it was, sticks his hand up, and the dude on the left, I forgot, I don't even know his name is, seriously, I love... What do you reckon?
I thought, no, this is one of my favorite scenes, and it's surprising to say this because we've had action scenes and Vader coming back and Grogu and all that, but this is one of my favorite scenes because it's just such a good character scene. And what they've done by having the 3 first episodes where you set this up so well, see what happens and follow it through. Now the payoff is they have to, answer for what's actually happened. And you've got the one guy that, told them not to do it. And then you've got the guy that encouraged them to do it. And then you've got the guy that did it who's getting bagged out. So I thought this was a fantastic scene. What did you think?
Oh, loved it, because we always wanted to know what was going to happen, and I adored it. It was really, really cool. I've got to go wind back. I've just missed a couple of very important comments. DJ, I agree with you. Wherever we assume it was in obviously England. Taking a guess at Scotland and whatever else, and it did look amazing. It looked fantastic. Some people said it looked a bit too normal, but whatever. And I don't think they're using the volume for that. It's actually the real deal, which is particularly cool. And just regarding the lightsaber things, apparently the crystal is a deep cut link to Knights of the Old Republic. Maybe he does say it's ancient. Why not? Until we get told otherwise. Why can't you? And he makes this point of saying it's a rare. So I did hear that Rakatan crystal. Of course, that's from Knights of the Old Republic. So very, very cool. And now, of course, we've got the 3 guys all lined up. And, of course, we all know that it was actually Khan who kind of screwed the pooch. And it's like, Cyril, do you realize you just got everybody fired? So the blue noodle dude from a couple of episodes ago, episode 3, whatever it was, mate, they're all gone, all those dudes. The Empire's moving into Ferrix and Morlana 1. Oh, mate, how bad would you feel? He got everybody sacked.
he's getting chewed out and chewed out and chewed out. And then the end sting is, and you're not fired, but we're bringing the entire Empire into the sector because you guys are so useless you can't control the security yourself. And I'm just thinking, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Well, as the guy said, there's been a whole lot of corporate security fiascos, right? So clearly there's a lot of shit going on in all these places, Morlana 1 and Ferrix and all these other planets. And they file all the reports. Remember, Hines was saying that. Remember, Hines, I wasn't even there. I didn't even do anything. So it's filing all those reports, hoping that the Empire just buries them in the distance in the background. But clearly they're reading them and having a look at them and going, yeah, righto. And now this is just tipped over the edge. Once you start having your own people getting killed off, and you make the point they lost 4 or 5 guys, including a civilian, it's like, yep, send the troops in and away we go. You can imagine, Ferrix is having a nice day. The dude's banging the big thing in the tower, and all of a sudden the ships come in, the Empire comes out, and it's like, oh, I am wondering, why are you here? And you go, one guy called Khan, he's the one who blame him.
Well, in the first episode, you're absolutely right. The wisest person who was playing the system goes, this is what probably happened, and he absolutely surmised what did happen. Don't do this because I'm just about to go in for a check, and what I don't want to do is have to report anything. And if they just sat back and listened to him, it'd all be fine. And the ironic thing is Khan is just trying to do what he thought was the right thing because he thought everyone was too slack. So I'm going to do what I need to do to make this work. And he just stuffed everything up because he bucked the system by trying to be too keen.
So you can imagine the 3 guys all got dismissed at the same time. When they walked out of the office, you reckon some foul words were used there, a bit more than good old the old bastard, I think, especially from Moss, because he was, as we said, he was definitely a career Imperial guy, and Hines was like loving life up to that point. So loved it. Oh, what a great, great moment. Yeah, they put their hand up. Seriously? That's awesome. Dear. Question, no. All right, we move on. So they're investigating the box thing and the Ferrix incident, and I love the fact they spelt Ferrix wrong in the report. That is such good dialogue, isn't it? It is such good writing. They spelt the name of the planet wrong, and while Dedra's too busy looking up at where the box came from and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I love throwaway lines like that. It is just one of those little things you get. It's a little detail, a little nugget that you can just hook on into. So I thought that was really, really well done. And it's interesting to note, we're now seeing the grey version of the ISB uniform. So we're not seeing a grey version before, to the best of my knowledge. They've always been like the white one that she's wearing. It's like cream, if you will, off-white, beige, whatever. And I noticed that the males and females wear exactly the same uniform. And, of course, they've still got the jobvers, which, of course, harks back to horse riding days in the World War II and World War I and whatever. So, but, yeah, got any observations on this? The fact they've got both the same style of uniform but the colour difference?
I just probably think it's just denotes a different rank or a different level. Maybe a week ago, before she was in the inner circle, she was wearing a grey uniform as well, or something.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good that they sort of outfit the both males and females in exactly the same uniform, and I think that's actually particularly groovy. So, but I thought, that's interesting. Now, according to Dedra, she's been in the ISB for just over a year, and before that, she was in enforcement. And of course, you do wonder what that would entail. Was she out on the street with the batons and the riot gear and all the rest of it. So she's got to. I mean, you look at it and you go, oh, okay, maybe she's obviously playing a baddie, part of the Imperial Security Bureau, and maybe she has a softer side, buried deep underneath, or maybe she doesn't. Maybe she's just hard-assed the whole way. So I don't know. Be very curious to see what they do with her. But at this stage, she's shaping up to be a very interesting character.
I think it's really good they just said she was in enforcement, because that implies a lot of things, but all of them are authoritarian and subjugating minorities and things like that. So I do think just by saying enforcement, one word conjures up a whole lot of things about the character, which is very clever writing.
Yeah, which is true, because for all we know, she could have been working in administration. So yeah, exactly right. But anyway, as I said, they're bringing them all into the ISB, into the inner circle, and we'll see how things transpire. So we jump back to Luthen on his ship. Now, this is an interesting one, right? I love the fact that when you see a mirror, you don't see mirrors much in the Star Wars universe. The only one that I can think of off the top of my head was in Solo with Kira when she's trying all the capes, right? I don't know. Mirrors just aren't a thing. And I thought it was very interesting. So he pulls it down. He's got the lights. And
there's Rey clicking in the mirror I guess it's not really a mirror, but it's like a mirror image of her going.
No, Dick, I'm talking an actual physical glass mirror, knobhead, not like a friggin' like spectral reflection and all this sort of thing. Where are you going? And of course, when he's doing this, he's got the face towel, he's got the wig and the rings, and you go, what's he doing? What is the go with this? He's like trying to be a completely different person. And of course, we discover later on, it's his disguise. And I thought, well done. I did not see that coming at all. But there are wigs in the Star Wars universe now. So we're learning all these different things, right? So you got face towels, you got mirrors, and you got wigs. Fancy that.
I did like that when he was putting on the rings and stuff. And I was thinking, I didn't know if he was in disguise. I thought he was going back to his sort of civilian personality away from his doing all this stuff. And he's obviously a well thought of or powerful or oligarch or something like that with all the rings and clothes and things. Yeah. So I thought that was a great character moment as well. Not much I didn't like in this episode.
Yeah, it's the image thing, eh? Now, of course, mentioned earlier, right, we see Coruscant. I'm sitting there going, oh, my God, I'm drooling up the side of my mouth. Then all of a sudden I had to drool out the other side of the mouth while I was in the restaurant because TIE fighters, their sound is music to my ears. How good is that? Anyway, I thought I'd just chuck that in because you hear them sounding in the distance and they come across like, oh, fantastic TIE fighters in live action. Oh, magnificent. Absolutely loved it. And, of course, Vera makes a point of people used to live there, mystics. And I thought, mystics, depending once upon a time, mystics could be classed as force users. So make of that what you will, kids. So yes, very, very cool.
It is interesting. It is interesting. I think Star Wars does tread that line of science fiction, but keeping on the mystical. Because I was watching The Mandalorian again today, and The Mandalorian starts talking about evil sorcerers and stuff like that. And you're like, it's a sci-fi show, but they do like to keep one leg in the mysticism side of things too.
Yeah, well, they do that with the Night Sisters on Dathomir and the Clone Wars, and they're all sort of sorcery. Yeah, I've forgotten the Mother Talzin, all this sort of thing. So, so you are right. I mean, it is sci-fi fantasy, if you will, and the whole Force thing is definitely clearly into mysticism and whatever else. Anyway, so the guns. A few people have complained about the guns look really Earth-like, and they kind of do. It's like they didn't change anything at all. You've got the AK-47 thing going on there, and I thought, I can't even imagine them shooting laser beams. I thought that was an interesting one. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it sort of ties into a mishmash of different age technologies. There are some weapons that look very futuristic, and then if you look at some of the guards on the sail barge, they look like they have very similar to Earth weapons as well. And it's just the different eras and the different planets. I mean, the Star Wars is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but you've got primitive people like Ewoks with spears, and then you've got the Death Star. So I presume there's everything in between as well.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at this picture. You could almost think they're like the French Resistance in the 1940s. DJ didn't like the guns. You weren't the only one. A few people were very unhappy, saying they don't normally you just use normal guns in the Star Wars universe and just without disguising them. Even Han Solo's gun, which is based on a real one, they changed to make it look futuristic. But I look at that barrel there and I said, I can't imagine a laser beam coming out of that. And that's the magazine underneath. Yeah. That's where bullets are kept. So, unusual that they've done that. And I agree with you. It's kind of mixing things up, and you do wonder: do they shoot laser beams, or do they actually physically shoot projectiles? And like, that would be a first if that was the case.
It's interesting you say that because I was waiting to see them shoot in this episode to see if they were lasers or were bullets, and of course, it didn't happen.
They don't. Yeah, they don't go. They just go pew pew. Someone mentioned pew pew earlier on. So not so much futuristic, just different. Yeah, it's sometimes you've got to disguise things to make them look futuristic. With that in mind, you're going to love this. I saw this and I laughed when I first saw this, right? Good to see Star Wars has taken a leaf out of Star Trek's book, right? So what they've done is they're taking a leaf out of Star Trek, add extra horns onto a real goat, and presto, it's an alien goat. Love it.
Yeah. So, well, I was thinking of Black Phillip from The Witch when that came up, but I did think it was funny, and I did laugh as well.
So people look at that and go, where are the womp rats and the friggin' like the 4-legged things and the 8-legged things and the 20-legged things? And there's a friggin' goats. They just said, sticky tape some horns on them. That look completely alien.
Do you know what, though? In a way, I prefer they're using physical goats and putting extra horns on them because they look realistic and they're there, compared to the creature that crawled out of the sand in Boba Fett that looked like full-on stop motion, what are they thinking kind of thing.
Yeah, and once again, for whatever reason, they just said use the real thing, and people complain, people won't. I like this from Colin. Yeah, freaking AK-47 shooting freaking laser beams. Absolutely love it. I thought it was just so funny. They said, no, we can't leave them like normal. We've got to put extra horns on the goats. But of course, you do see real lizards and real snakes in The Empire Strikes Back on Dagobah. So you can use real life animals here. So, but yes, they... maybe the budget said, we've got the goats, chuck them in, put some horns on, done. It's a throwaway shot. Who cares? We're not going to ride them. We're not going to eat them. We're not going to do anything with them. They're just there, right? And they don't call them by name. They say later on, Vera says by name, the animals are running loose. She doesn't actually call them anything. So
the AD was yelling at someone. I said, no goats, and that's 4 goats.
Someone said, George Lucas is the greatest of all time. And someone said, goats. We need goats, do we? Christy said, they're running out of money for the creatures and the props. Well, yeah, they saved a lot of money in that regard. And I agree, DJ, I hear you, dude. I don't want to think of you've seen things in real life, and this series is definitely bordering on the real life thing, which is probably why it's alienating a portion of the fan base, and I get it. So, and the whole thing of Star Wars, it is a galaxy far, far away, and some of the stuff is a little bit too close to home. All right, here we go. Now, here's a trivia question for everybody out there. Don't Google it, right? Just tell me the answer straight away. What's the name of these guys? Who are these characters? Mate, does anybody know or anybody care? I read on a forum, and they said, mate, we've got named all these characters. No one gives a rat's ass about any of them, and they're probably all going to die anyway in the attack on the base. But I thought they were so funny. This is this person. This is this person. I am not even going to bother trying to remember them. So,
do you know why? Do you know why they make up names for everyone? So Hasbro doesn't have to do it later when they make the action figures of them.
Yeah, you don't want your Forlom and the Azukas sagas from the Empire Strikes Back, but that's for sure. So, yes, very good. It's a line and a half. It's location sure they couldn't get one of the ride-on testicles from the Met. That's called a blurg, by the way, as I discovered not that long ago. So, yes, very, very cool. Did they have names? Yes, they did, because Cassian gets Vera introduces him, but it's just very quickly. This is Fred, this is Charlie, this is Peter, whatever. So, but in one eyeball and out the other, as far as I was concerned. Very, very cool. There we go. Sheen is the guy over in the front right. Yes, he's a Mr. Sheen. He's always a clean guy. So there we go. All right. That's happening on Eldani. I know I'm going through this relatively quickly because there is just so much to get through, and we haven't got to some of the best stuff yet. So I do apologize for the rushing, right? I'm in the zone. What can I say? All right. Very, very cool. Yes. So this... You love fantastic imagery, all right? And the Star Wars universe, all the series that we've seen, the live action ones, has had fantastic imagery. And sometimes you look and go, that is, take a picture of that and put on the wall as a poster. And of course, when you see that and you go, that is just friggin' grouse. And that's like the Coruscant airport, if you want. Absolutely stunning. No idea what that ship is, but that looks particularly cool. And of course, that leads us into the airport concourse. Now, you might look at that and go, wow, that looks stylish and that looks futuristic. And the reason why, for those who didn't know, it's actually the McLaren Formula One headquarters. So I saw that on Facebook just recently. I go, how good's that, dude?
Well, I love that. And what's interesting about that picture, it's exactly the same location as the camera is in the film as well, isn't it? They've got a picture that lined up the McLaren headquarters exactly from the shot that's in Star Wars. So that's quite unusual to be able to do that. It is. I did think the whole look of this episode was fantastic. It looked futuristic and real, like real technology that you might expect, a couple of decades from now, we've got it here. And obviously we have, if that's a real building.
So the cool thing is, if you work for McLaren, the Formula One team, you go, "Oh my God, I work on Coruscant. How good am I? I'm a nerd." Oh, I tell you what, suddenly you'd be going, "I don't want to pay a rise. Just like let me just work there. It'd be awesome." So and you could just stand there and go, "Oh, Khan stood right here," and of course that was the guy we saw walking through the concourse. Right here, I'm feeling the vibe of good old Cyril. Good old Cyril. I said, you can imagine some of his ex-workmates might be looking for him now, so he's decided to have to sort of crawl away as one does. And we got to see more. These would be real locations too. I wouldn't be surprised. And of course, he gets in the elevator, and it's like, "Yeah, see you later, sunshine," because all the poor people live underground, and he's got a lot of thinking time. This poor bastard, that's for sure. And of course, this is the ultimate gag from last week. He gets to his door. "Hey, Mum. Hey, you wouldn't believe what happened to me today." But last week, when we were talking about Khan, Dale Williams, who was watching the show, said, "Do you reckon Khan is the kind of guy who lives with his mother?" And now he does. How good is that?
There you go.
There we go. Speaking of Dale, he's right here. So, yes, Khan's mother needs her own spin-off show. Yeah, he just gives him a whacky and then gives him a hug.
Well, look, the book of Mrs. Khan sounds like a good show.
Absolutely love it. So he's actually gone crawling home to mother. Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, again, another great scene. There are not many scenes in Star Wars that are given long enough to breathe of the guy just standing in an elevator and you understand exactly what he's thinking. And then you get a long tracking shots of him walking to this house and he's back with his mum. And that, for a lot of people, is, you've really hit the rock bottom, haven't you?
Yeah, he'd be sitting at the coffee table, at the dining table, whatever it is, right, the kitchen table, and she just brings him over a cup of tea and he goes, "There." It was awesome, but I love the fact that Dale predicted it last week, and he said, "Yeah, he probably does live with his mother," and now he does. I was like, "Oh my God, how good is that?" All right, speaking of, there's so much good stuff in this episode. It's like I'm overwhelmed. Right now, there's a bit of a joke with this, right? So we see what Luthen's finally up to, right? He's got himself his own collectible store. And I thought straight away, dude, it's the Galaxy Far, Far Away version of your shop. How good is that?
I know. He seems to be doing better than me, though, because everything in there is too expensive for anyone to buy.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to make a joke about that in a sec. So for those who have no idea what we're talking about, Aaron does actually have his own store, Aaron's Collectibles, in Main Street in Blackburn. So I saw this and I thought just sort of you straight away. So I reckon that's the ultimate gag. So what do you love it? And of course, we finally get to see the return of Mon Mothma, Genevieve O'Reilly. Absolutely awesome. One of the greatest things that Star Wars does is keeping the same continuity with the actors, even spanning decades. And of course, Genevieve made her first appearance on screen in Rogue One, but of course she was part of a deleted scene for Revenge of the Sith, got cut out altogether playing Mon Mothma. And I think it was absolutely fantastic. It made a reference. She's from Chandrilla, which is true. It was awesome. I was like, oh, mate, fantastic. What do you reckon?
And what I was saying again, I mean, this is someone who was already cast, but the cast on this is spot on, where she really does portray, just through the way she holds herself, that air of dignity and someone who's in the upper echelons, but also the frustration of fighting an empire, which is like something hard to do. And that's really hard to do for an actor, to do that without many lines and just through the way she's dressed and how she holds herself.
Yeah. I was just awesome. I loved it purely from a continuity perspective, and of course, she gets to do a lot more than she got to do in Rogue One. Two things I'm going to bring this up. So, Dale, I'll just start with the Mon Mothma stuff. Yeah, our Queen serving up the looks and slow. She was fantastic, absolutely awesome. Regarding the Khan thing, this is a gag. I like this from Colin. Is it better to be home with Mum instead of being buried alive? That's a Star Trek 2 Wrath of Khan reference for those who don't know. So. You got to bring up Star Trek from time to time. All right, now we're inside the store, and I've got to refer way back up here to a comment that DJ made. It's like read War and Peace. Easter egg. All right, so an online commentator. We go. Andor doesn't have enough Easter eggs, right, for Star Wars content. I'm not going to read the rest, but you kind of get it, right? Not enough Easter eggs, and then suddenly we're in the store, and there's nothing but Easter eggs. Where do you go, mate? There is shit everywhere in this episode. And in this store. So have you picked out a few things yourself?
No, I haven't. I did see stuff and go, oh, this has got to be from other things, but yep. I haven't even gone online and looked at like what Easter eggs were in this. So what did you pick out?
Well, I picked out one or two things, but other people have picked out things. Personally, I think this thing over here is something, but I have no idea what it is, right? This snake thing. I was like, I just got no idea what it might be, but clearly there's some obvious ones. So kicking it off quickly, you got Mandalorian armor. It's obviously not Din Djarin's because he's already got his own. There's a discussion as to whether this is meant to be a Twi'lek Kalkori. This is obviously from Rebels. An ancient heirloom, kind of doesn't really match, but it could be the live action version of it. Make of that what you will. Jedi and Sith holocrons potentially in the back there that someone has sort of picked up on. Maybe, maybe not.
Well,
and this is the back. Hang on, this is the back of the store, so these aren't on public display. So that could be something significant. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say that looks like the moment from Doctor Who. I'm sure you wanted to hear that.
No, I didn't. All right, I'm just good on you. What else we got here? This is cool. It's the Mortis murals. Now this is going right back to the Clone Wars episodes regarding the Mortis arc. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have no idea where we're going with this. It was a fantastic. It was 3 episodes regarding something called the Mortis. You had the father, the son, and the daughter, I think, and they all represented the Force in different ways. And it's actually the circle things behind their heads, and that's these things here. And they got the hands that represent it as well. So I thought, I don't know who did this in the prop department, but that was very, very groovy. That's really hardcore, like hardcore nerd stuff, right? So DJ was saying that somebody saying there wasn't enough Easter eggs. This is an Easter egg with wrapping. I'll tell you what. Star Killer's armor from The Force Unleashed. A few people went completely apeshit over that, which is understandable. Indiana Jones's whip is in carbonite, so it's in perfect hibernation, which I thought was kind of cool.
That's
and
cool
just quickly, a Gungan shield, and as you can imagine, that's in the $2 bin. That's not going for much at all. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Well, the other comment, if you want to bring the other DJ comment up, that's not my point. These were fine Easter eggs, but they distract from the story. I think it's interesting because I totally agree. And one of the things that I don't like is where's Wally's storytelling, and that happened a lot in episode 1 where they were saying, oh, there's so much packed in the background. You've got to watch the movie 5 or 6 times to pick it all up. But the thing with Where's Wally books is once you've found Wally on every page, there's no real reason to go back and read the book again. And I think what Andor has done is balanced it where the story is absolutely fantastic and the Easter eggs aren't distractions. They're more icing on the cake.
And I agree with you. And those people, if there are people who are saying, oh, there's not enough of them, it's like, man, you're watching the show for the wrong reason. It's like, as we said for episode 1, there were barely anything, like maybe 1 or 2 things tops. And that's a good thing. You don't want them shoved in your face all the time. Now, this is like the Dryden Voss thing from Solo in the office. There's just stuff everywhere. Sure, you're meant to look around and some of it's been deliberately put in, but the rest of the series isn't designed that way. And I think we can all agree, that's actually a positive sign. So it's all new, it's all different, all unique, rather than having a look in the background. Oh, look at this, look at that. Yep, totally with you. All right. And Daniel seems to think it was the Kalkori thing. So, maybe it is. Very, very cool. The mural was from Rebels. Yeah, the World Between Worlds, if I recall, is what it was. So, but either way, it's all part of the Mortis thing. And very, very exciting. I love this line, right? So Claire, believe it or not, speaks to the driver. Do you want to buy some stuff? And the guy says, oh, I couldn't afford anything here. And I go, yep, that's definitely Aaron's store.
But now, there's 2 ways to look at it. You look at it that she's distracting the driver who it's implied could be spying on one another, or she's just a really, really good saleswoman who takes the opportunity to try and sell to someone else who's in the shop as well. So it's good on both. It's good on both.
It was levels. The former, dude. It was the former because they said it's a brand new driver. They need to get it because they don't trust this person. So,
as a manager of a collectible shop, she gets an A+ for customer service and trying to selling stuff.
Yep, love it. All right, so we get around the background. So we've got Mon Mothma talking to Luthien Rail, and we get the hardcore stuff, right? And we get really, really interesting points here. So these alliances in financial troubles. Luthen's having problems moving money. Spies are everywhere, which is exactly what would happen in this sort of environment. And now, of course, we know that Mon Mothma lives on right through to Jedi and beyond, as in Return of the Jedi. But Luthien, now, because he owns a shop, you can almost bet your bottom dollar that at some point he's going to get caught out. And he's probably going to get killed in the store, or the store's going to get taken over, or whatever else. But he won't divulge who Mon Mothma is because, as we know, she continues. So I thought this was a really interesting scenario. So once again, we're showing that the Alliance is still struggling, right? And as we see it in Rogue One, they're still just not a group that's like joined together yet. And that doesn't occur until after the Death Star plans have been stolen. So it's great. They're not having a good time with it because from our perspective, it's easy to say, the Alliance, we love them. But it's not going well at all. So now with that in mind, she says she's found someone who can help her. Mon has found someone who can help her. Who could it be? Bail Organa, Saul Guerrera, Jar Jar Binks. What do you reckon, dude? Who's this mystery benefactor?
Me's are going to help the Alliance.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
What do you reckon?
Well, the way I like the way this is unfolding. In they aren't doing, oh, there's a big reveal, shock value, big reveal, shock value. So maybe it will be someone different. But then that said, it might just be Bail Organa. They obviously will meet up at some point.
Yeah, and Dale's made a mention about Bale as well. I don't think it is, because I think Bale, based on the deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith, Bale and Mon Mothma are already connected. They're already aware that there's issues, and we saw it clearly in the prequel trilogy that Bale said, no, there's some really dodgy stuff going on here. So I'd be surprised if it was, but if it is, great. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. But it sounded like it was an outside person, and some people suspected it could be the Saw Gerrera thing, because the Saw Gerrera partisan rebels, which is part of the Andor rebels thing, they obviously have a connection with what is now the Alliance, but then 5 years later in Rogue One, as Mon Mothma says in Rogue One, that Saw Gerrera is too extreme, too hardcore, too whatever the term is, extremist, whatever. And maybe this is where it starts, and of course Rogue One is where it ends. I don't know, just sort of put it out there. So,
I think the smart money is going to be on the Ice Cream Man from Empire Strikes Back.
I'm being serious here, dude. Stop mucking around. A bit of the Wilrow Hood action. Wouldn't that be funny? They could do it, though. Bring him in and go, oh, my God, there he is. He's canonized and everything. It's fantastic. So, yes, we don't know who that person or persons will be. I like this. It's the Galaxy Far, Far Away version of a Rolls-Royce. I reckon that is fantastic. Yes, I agree with you, Adzi. People will lose it big time for his Jar Jar. So, Misa here to help you. So it's a Galaxy version of a Rolls Royce. I just thought that was kind of cool. So I don't know who designed the car, but good on him for doing it. And it just goes to show the pressure of being and operating in secret. And she's been doing it so far for what are we up to now? Like 14 years. And of course, based on her discussion with the husband, he doesn't know what she's up to. It has to operate completely in secrecy. The spies everywhere. The risk of getting caught is really, really high. You can imagine the stress levels she'd be going through. So I thought this was a good moment, really good time to reflect on all the problems that she's going through at the moment. What do you reckon?
And that's again what I think is a good actress, where they can emote through the screen without even saying anything.
Yeah, exactly right. And the car, yeah, you're right, DJ. It looks like a spinner from Blade Runner, which is particularly cool. Yes, I love it. Misa here to kill your sanity. Yes, exactly right. Now, of course, we get back to wherever she's hanging out. We get to meet the hubby, Perrin. And it's been noted either he's an Imperial sympathizer or he just doesn't want the world to change. He's happy with the way things are going. He's having some friends over, right? The governor's coming over and bringing some buddies, as it were. So as far as he's concerned, the world is good. So, and of course, he'd be oblivious to what Mon Mothma's going through regarding the Alliance thing in the background. So I thought this was, I love this one. Hubby is an absolute. Don't mince words, Dale. What are you trying to tell us? So, what do you reckon?
This is the same reaction as when I say to my wife, I haven't told you, but I'm bringing a whole lot of Star Wars fans home to talk about Star Wars at dinner tonight. I thought it was funny where you get a situation happening at home and it's totally different point of view from the people involved. So she says, how could you do this? You know, I don't like these people. And he's kind of even oblivious to that because life's so good and whatever they're doing is traveling along so nicely. He's like, well, you're going to have to deal with it.
It was great, wasn't it? She walks into the room, he's setting everything up. He said, don't forget, I told you like a month ago that there was a thing on. He's like, oh my God. And he's like, who are you bringing over? Oh, I'm bringing over all these people from the government. And she goes, but they hate me. I was like, oh my God. And he's going, don't worry about it. You're at the far end of the table. Stop grizzling. And of course, she gets to look at the guest list. And I actually love this. Guess who's coming to dinner? There really is. So you got Sly Moore, which is from the prequel trilogy. Ours, Dangor, who is referenced in the game, I think, the novels, Tarkin and Rogue One, if I'm not mistaken, and Masamita, which I think got mentioned. It's just his first name got mentioned. And I thought, mate, what would be on the menu for those guys?
Well, at least it shows there are still some aliens around in the universe then, doesn't it?
A lot of people have said it's the one thing they are desperately wanting to see more than anything else, the dinner party with all those characters. What would the small talk be? So how has your day been? I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, this is regarding Perrin. He's rich and influential. What does it matter if the galaxy's gone fast? Exactly right, and that's how it works. Some people just thrive on it, and then they're having a good life. And like that's the reason why in the Force Awakens it's pointed out that in the galaxy as a whole, we don't get to see it on screen. There would be some people who'd be saying, "No, bring the Galactic Empire back. It was awesome when they were still here." So
yeah,
no, that's the way it goes.
It's interesting. Massameter and Sly Moore are very close to Palpatine, and I'm pretty sure the backstory of Sly Moore is that she is not Force sensitive, but an empath. So she could possibly be someone in there sensing if they're loyal or not.
Maybe. Sly Moore says, "Oh, can I bring a +1?" Right? And they turn up and Palpatine's like, "Oh, just stagger my way." Yeah, I'm here for some punch. Oh, God, that's just classic. But it was a great thing. And of course, at the end of it, Mon's clearly not happy with what's going on, and he said, the parent says, "Oh, you bought me a gift." She says, "Oh, I'm taking it back." Oh, great. Oh, absolutely love it. Oh.
Yeah, and DJ's brought up Sly Moore was played by an Australian actress, and maybe they've been pretty good with getting all those people back.
Yeah, they have. I like the fact, at least you spelt it correctly. So Sandy is with an I, not with a Y. She certainly had a bit of an issue when seeing a name in the cinema spelt with a Y. She completely went off the deep end in the cinema when she saw her name spelt incorrectly. There's an interesting point here. Mon Mothma makes a point about the Gorman's shipping lanes have been cut off. It's just a throwaway line. And of course, good old Gorman is actually a planet that's referenced in Rebels as being the site of an atrocity. So once again, they're sort of linking back. It's a bit of an Easter egg, a bit of a nugget for those who like this sort of stuff. But it's not just some random thing we've never heard of before. It does get brought up again, and the atrocity doesn't happen for another 3 years. So I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. So very, very cool. So yeah, that was the whole dinner party thing. So whether we get to see it or not, I don't know. But if they did, it'd be absolutely spectacular. It's almost be more exciting than the dinner party from the Empire Strikes Back with Vader and Han and Lando and all those guys. So I love my continuity, not just like in the stories, but with the characters, but sometimes costuming continuity as well. And I don't know if you picked up on this, where Gorn, the guy's name is Gorn, that's the guy on the left. The raincoat that he wears is exactly the same, the one that Krennic wears in Rogue One. It's exactly the same pattern and styling, and I thought that's good. They really thought about it. So they went back to what did Krennic wear in Rogue One as a raincoat over his uniform, and it's identical. And I thought, just one of those little things. But his name is Gorn. I was like, why is he named Gorn? Oh, because he's here today and gone tomorrow. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say because he fights Kirk.
Yeah, so I didn't want to bring the Star Trek reference up there, but yeah, you've already done that for me. We got the layout of this is the whole Dirty Dozen thing. We're going to go into this house here and we're going to blow these things up there. But don't worry, the model's not to scale. I love the fact that guy brought that up. And there's lots of clicks this time. Oh, there's a 30 clicks this way, 50 clicks that way. They still won't say kilometers. They've still got this click thing going on, and it is 52 clicks, in fact. So I thought it was kind of groovy. What do you reckon? So that's hopefully next episode. Yeah,
I did think it was a very big, detailed model for just in case the Imperials raided and go, hey, what's happening here?
So whatever happened to the old thing of just drawing on the dirt, kind of the H style. It's like, well, here we just go this way here, we go that way there. You're standing over there. You're standing over there. No, we've got a physical model built. Can't knock that. All right,
apes together strong.
Indeed. I know it's 9 o'clock. We still got to keep. We haven't finished the episode yet. This is very, very cool stuff. We've got some really groovy stuff coming up. Oris. So I love this one, right? Okay, this Pickering is pointless. Yes, you got Dedra on one side, you got the other dude on the other side, and I've got the guy's name in the middle already. Yeah, he's got that really bizarre name. And I thought, okay, it's ISB agents at 20 paces, and I did like this. Now, this is interesting. He called her Lieutenant on more than one occasion. That's the first time I've heard them say that. Lieutenant Mira. Now, even though the Imperial Empire is populated by typically British actors, if they're going to use military terms, they use the American version, which would be lieutenant, right?
Yeah.
So I was really surprised when I heard this, and I actually played it a couple of times. And I go, oh, I misheard that. But he actually says, oh, I forgot the guy's name. References lieutenant multiple times. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Did you pick up on that?
No, I didn't. I know though, when it comes to English, there is a point where they defer to, even if they're British actors and accents, they defer to the American way of saying it. Like C-3PO won't say schedule, he says schedule. And that is a deliberate artistic point. So I guess it really depends who's directing and who the continuity people are, and I guess how much they're enforcing it. But yeah, it is an interesting point.
Yeah, so I was really surprised to hear that, and I don't know if American viewers have gone off the rails over that one or not. I don't know, but I was really just something I didn't expect to hear regarding Mon Mothma's new contact. Adzi has said it may be Ahsoka. It could be. Okay,
Oh,
Ahsoka does join the alliance later on. That's all part of Rebels. Everything's part of Rebels. Oh my god! Because the first season of Rebels is occurring at the same time that show's occurring, 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. Right.
yeah.
So while we're mucking around on the ISB, our heroes on Lothal are doing their thing. So. They're almost running sort of side by side and in tandem. So it could be Ahsoka because she was fulcrum at this period in time, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, very, very cool. Now, of course, Dedra, she's a bit of a smart cookie. She's realizing there's a rebellion forming. Even, as I said, there's one starting on Lothal with our heroes down that way. But, of course, with Imperial arrogance, it's like, nah, until you got concrete evidence, don't talk to me about it. I'm just going to do my own thing. So you can imagine she's going to be investigating on her own. And if she turns out that, everything sort of goes completely pear-shaped, and she'll say, well, I was right all the time and you guys just wouldn't listen to me.
Well,
yeah, I reckon that could
you would have heard
happen.
You would have heard George Lucas say many times that it echoes. It's like poetry. And what she is doing is exactly the same as what Cyril Khan was doing. And it all went to hell for him. But you can see it's going to go the other way for her, where she's told them, I've seen these patterns and look, we should investigate it. And she's been put back in her box, and it's going to blow up the other way. And I think this is really clever. I really like the first couple of episodes, didn't see it much, but these next couple of episodes, it's really like they're pushing chess pieces around, and the audience can see like the traps that are being set. And when it pulls off, it's really rewarding to the audience. And I think this is what's going to happen with this scenario.
Yeah, so when something really bad does occur, admittedly the biggest bad thing won't occur until Rogue One with the thing on Scarif, right? So Deidre's going to say, look, I told you the whole time, and I realised the guy's name is Partagaz, and you reckon he'll be like, I've got to go and visit Darth Vader and tell him what's been going on. I won't be seeing you guys again, so have fun, kids. With that in mind, do you reckon he and Tarkin are good buddies? Hey, throw Imperial all the way. I reckon the two of them together, sitting by an open fire, having a chat, saying, how was your day today? It's like, yeah, not bad.
Or does he maybe work his way up, and in a couple of years has got like the purple robes on, and he's one of the Imperial dignitaries?
Yeah, well, exactly right. So it's a great character, and it is showing his arrogance of saying, "Nah, we're all good to go. Don't you worry about this, Dedra. You just go and do what you're told to do. Go in the background and just file your reports and all the rest of it." Because it's we know what happens, and of course, there's still a few more years before it really hits its high point. But yes, it's
you picked up on it when you talked about this scene, but you noticed they had a bit of the Putin social distancing going with the massive gaps between them, which sort of designates rank and authority.
Yeah, exactly right. So DJ saying that this guy should have played Tarkin in Rogue One rather than the CGI thing. Oh, no, I don't think so. I think what they did was fine. I mean, you can recast actors and that would still upset. But you know what? No matter what you did for Tarkin, you're never going to please everybody.
Yeah.
But there's still a reference that Dedra's detention quotas are well up. So this is just to reinforce the fact that I assume this is something that she's in control of, that she's got some dirty hands that she has of her own. And so this is whole part of the whole totalitarian environment. So you got that word out this time, where you deliberately imprison people just to remind them who you are and who's in control, even if they haven't done anything wrong. And that's clearly what this is all about, round up the usual suspects, so to speak. So, yeah. So, now this is an interesting point. This one won't match. It won't fit, but we've been dangled a carrot before, and you're thinking maybe this could be the real deal, right? Cassian has a sister. Remember the lost sister, Kerry, from Canary, and he was looking for her on Morlana 1. Now, we don't know what she was doing on Morlana 1, right? He was apparently in the bar or whatever. Someone has suggested, wouldn't it be interesting if Kerry was actually a part of the Imperial War Machine or the Imperial Security Bureau? Now, clearly, she won't be Dedra, but if that turns out to be the case, and maybe she was on Morlana 1 as a spy, wouldn't it be funny if Cassian and Kerry meet up and he's on one side of the fence as a Rebel Alliance dude, and she's on the other side of the fence saying, well, I'm an Imperial Security officer, Bureau officer. Yeah. You think they're almost heading in that path because we've been drip-fed all the Kerry stuff from a few episodes ago, which is all the background stuff. So what do you think? Do you reckon that's a possibility they'll go down that route?
That's quite possible. And the thing about that is his sister isn't in Rogue One. So that can be a story element that they introduce in this and wrap up in this as well. So it would be interesting to see what they do. I don't think there's enough clues at the moment to really have a solid guess of who she's going to be or how it's going to turn out. But it is an interesting plot point that I'm sure is one of the main plot points coming up soon.
Yeah. You'd almost be thinking, oh, would they do that? I mean, it's very, very a classic trope. I've lost my sister. Oh, she's come back. Oh my God, she's the bad guy and I'm the good guy. What do I do now? Do I have to kill her? And of course, if that was the case, and this is where we were heading with this, if it turned out that Kerry did join the Empire, had a run-in with Cassidy, she was going to blow his cover and all that sort of stuff, and he had to kill her, that would be the reason why in Rogue One he is completely hardcore, right?
Yeah.
He's just like off the rails in that regard. And when he says he's had to do bad things for the Alliance, right, that could be what he's referring to, because at this point he hasn't joined the Alliance, right?
Yeah.
So in Rogue One, we assumed he'd been a part of the Alliance since he was 6 years old, as he said. But imagine that. He's had to shoot and kill his own sister because she was going to blow the cover on. Oh, she's going to go back and say, Mon Mothma's in charge of this. And imagine that. And that, I think, would be that could be a very, very powerful moment if they do it. A little predictable.
Well,
but
imagine the scenario where she's fighting for the Empire, he's fighting for the Alliance, and they both have the opportunity to kill each other, and she is Empire and can't do it, and the Alliance person can. That makes a very grey area, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we have shown that he is prepared to kill unarmed people. So, I reckon if I was going to take a bit of a predictive thing, I reckon that might be the go, because in Rogue One, Cassian is clearly not 100% in the head. So, yes, and that whole line, I've done terrible things, bad things for the Alliance, or things I'm not proud of, and it's like, well, he only hasn't joined the Alliance yet, so whatever he's done is still yet to come. So something to keep in mind. Colin will appreciate this. You'll appreciate this. I saw this scene. I go, I couldn't have a bit of a laugh. The campfire scene, I just thought, mate, straight out of Star Trek 5, start singing row, row, row your boat. So,
well, it could have been worse. It could have been straight out of Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, well, that's baked beans. Yeah, exactly right. Very, very good. And I do like the fact that it's not exactly an iPad that he's given. So there's some technology in the old Star Wars universe that's still a bit hardcore and a little bit busted up. So, yeah, what do you reckon, old son?
Yeah, I think the whole look of Andor has been impressive so far. I think a couple of people have said it looks a lot like almost the Blade Runner universe, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that's a fantastic looking universe.
Exactly right. Adzi has said, the Empire kills her. That's a little bit too predictable. That's the only problem. It's like, oh, I'm going to go in the Revenge of the Empire because they killed her. I'd like to see something a little bit different. But it could certainly happen that way. Now, good on Christy. Believe it or not, that's the end of my pictures. So, Christy, can you give me your crimson yawns, please? Don't forget, the more yawns, the worse it was. The less yawns, the better it was. That's it. Oh, I had to get through all that. I was looking through this today and go, oh my God, there's just so much cool stuff here. Dude, what did you think of episode 4, Aldani?
Well, I actually really loved it. One of my favorite episodes of a Star Wars TV series so far. And we're doing this out of 10. It's a high one. I'll probably give it about a 9 out of 10. It did all the right things for me where I really enjoyed it, moved the story forward, wasn't boring, looked great actors. Not much I could fault with it.
It's funny. Aaron and I did not discuss Andor at all, right? We just barely covered off one or two little bits when we caught up yesterday, but otherwise we haven't said anything. I am with you, right? I think next to the first episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I thought was fantastic, this was awesome, right? And nothing happened. It's just all talking. It's just a whole lot of dudes talking, right? And I think that despite the fact it's missing all the things that Star Wars fans love, as I said earlier, your lightsabers and your freaking, your space battles, and nobody shoots a gun or anything like that. No aliens. There's no aliens in this episode at all. It really pushed my buttons because I think the character moments are so good. The dialogue is written really, really well, and it's pushing the story forward to a point you go, oh, I'm really keen to see what's going to happen with this, right? What's going to happen with Dedra? What's going to happen with this attack on the base? And I absolutely loved it. It really worked for me, but it's so different. I can imagine a lot of people going, no, it is not the go at all. Christy's come back, and her yawns are slowly going up now. So she said 5 out of 10. So, and as she made a point, she's on the fence this week. So that's actually a good sign, because I know Christy wasn't a big fan of the previous few episodes. So, I love it. I can't help myself. There's always room for a joke, isn't it? Seriously. Oh, very good. Seriously love it. Oh, you thought hard about that one, didn't you?
If you had to give it out of 10, though, Dags, what would you give it out of 10?
Yeah, sorry. That was where I was going with this. I agree with you. 9. I don't want to go to 10 just yet, because, I mean, there's room for a bit of improvement. But I looked and I thought, I'd go the 9. It just worked for me completely, and I absolutely loved it. The show's doing the 12-hour movie thing, which is true. Episode doesn't really have a climax. No, it doesn't. It just stops, right? Just done, right? And there you go. It kind of ends. And you are right. There's some shows where you think, oh, I just want to plow through the whole lot in one go. But because we are what we are, I can't wait 12 weeks to go through all 12 episodes. I need one now. So I think it's absolutely fantastic. And but I can see where it will work for some people and won't work for others. So awesome.
Well, they've set a high bar with this one, and I would be quite happy if it could stay on this level.
As I said, I really hope the show goes really, really dark. That was something that I was keen on years ago when they first announced it, because they can, as we said it previously, there are some people watching this episode who haven't watched the other ones, because it is not aimed at children. It is not aimed at the general public. And it's not the kind of thing that Disney is going to go, look, watch Andor. It's better than anything we've done previously. They can take risks, and that's the thing. And they've done that already, and it's paying off in spades if you're prepared to sit and go through the slow burn. And but it's, as mentioned, its quality is outstanding. You cannot knock the quality, whether you like the story or the pacing or whatever. The characters are great, the quality is great, and there's just so many nuggets being like dangled in front of you. You're thinking, mate, give me more. So yeah, Guy said he's definitely intrigued. Very good stuff. But remember, 2 weeks ago, no one gave a rat's ass about Andor. Now all of a sudden, as like with Christy, starting to swing a little bit. So very good. Well, 12 weeks of spoilers. Yeah, that's what we're here for. So very good. Now,
and I thought it got off to a pretty shaky start with the first 2 episodes, though.
Yeah, indeed. It was definitely the slow burn, as we've said already. Good stuff. I think it's can't bring out wait. Episode 5 is in 2 days' time, by the way. So get ready for it, kids, and we'll see what happens. And hopefully it just continues to build up. And good on them for just being left of center, doing something that you don't normally expect.
Yeah.
Yes, quality writing and solid directing matters, and it's certainly the case in this case, so to speak. It's got the real true detective feel about it. Yeah, it will be for Dedra. And we know from the trailers she does go to Ferrix. So the trailers did give a bit away, but good fun. Was it? There's a slow burn and there was burning up over time. Yeah, indeed. Burning the candle at both ends, so long as you don't burn it to the point where there's nothing left. Very, very good. All right, I'm sorry I had to go through this very, very fast, but I had a lot of shit to get through, and I'm just very excited. So is there anything further you wanted to say about this episode before we move on? In fact, there's something I've got to say after you. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I think we covered everything really well. Like I said, if they stay at this level, I'd be quite happy, because I think the writing and the production is pretty damn good, and probably more than I hoped for out of this. Different, but good.
Excellent. Now, for those who haven't done it already, don't forget to check out our socials, Sci-Fi Zone. You've got the Instagrams and Twitters and all that sort of stuff. There are other shows that we produce. So, like on Wednesday, we've got an announcement about a new show coming out in a couple of weeks. Oh, it's very, very exciting. So, yeah, make sure you keep on top of what's going on. And, of course, we did dangle a carrot early on, but Aaron does have his own shop, Aaron's Collectibles. So there are absolutely no Andor collectibles at all, I believe, at the moment. I think there are T-shirts in America, but that's as far as it goes. But if you want to talk about Andor or anything else, sci-fi, pop culture related, pop into the store and make your presence felt. What do you reckon they do?
Yep, and one of the things we buy and sell and we chat, and I tell you what, we've been chatting about a lot of things the last couple of weeks, because there's so many different genre shows on and coming back, and Star Wars, and there's something on just about every day at the moment. So if anyone wants to come in and say hi, feel welcome.
Very cool. Are we going to PAX? I'm not. I don't think you are either. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am. I'm going.
Oh, you are? Okay, well, there you go then. So you get to see 50% of DNA reviews at PAX. So good stuff. All right, we're going to buzz off. We're going to leave you to it. We're back next Monday to talk about episode 5. Good old Andor. Oh, my God, it is just doing exciting things. We'll leave you to it. Excuse me. Party hard, everybody, and we'll catch you then. Okay, then. All right. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.